All right. Liver time. We've got a stack of nursing study guides here, so we're going deep today.
Diving right in.
Deeper than just it filters toxins.
Yeah.
Get ready for anatomy, function, maybe even some liver trivia.
I love trivia.
For instance, did you know this unsung hero is your largest internal organ? Weighs a hefty 3 pounds.
It's true. It's not just about size, though.
Right.
It's about what it does. People always talk about detox.
Yeah, the filter.
But it's so much more. This is like the body's metabolic mastermind.
Okay.
Carbs, fats, proteins, the liver handles it all.
Metabolic masterminds. Right. Break that down for me. What does that even mean?
Okay, imagine a busy city, right? The liver's the central hub,
Okay.
managing traffic from 2 major highways. One is the hepatic artery, bringing in that oxygen-rich blood, the good stuff.
Fueling it up.
Exactly. But the other one, the portal vein. Now, that's where things get interesting.
Oh.
This one carries blood straight from the digestive system, full of nutrients from your last meal.
So everything you eat, it makes a pit stop at the liver before going anywhere else in the body.
Precisely.
Wow.
And this is why understanding that dual blood supply, it's crucial,
I bet. Yeah.
especially when we talk about liver diseases later.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because think about it, what you eat, what you drink, even stuff you absorb through your skin, it can directly impact your liver's health.
Makes total sense. Like everything has to pass inspection at the liver before it's allowed to go to the rest of the body.
It's a very busy place.
No wonder doctors run so many blood tests that are related to the liver. How did those tests, speaking of, actually give us a window into how well the liver's working?
Yeah, those blood tests, they're analyzing for specific enzymes and proteins. Remember we were talking about the liver being metabolic?
Yeah.
Well, these enzymes like AST and ALT, for example, they're key players in all those processes.
Gotcha.
And if your liver's damaged, those enzymes, they can leak into the bloodstream.
Oh.
And elevated levels on those tests, that's a red flag.
Okay, so it's not just one size fits all when it comes to liver. Each one's kind of looking for different clues.
You got it. It's like putting a puzzle together.
Mm-hmm.
Each test gives you a different piece of information. Another one we look at is bilirubin.
Oh, right, bilirubin.
When red blood cells break down, that's a byproduct. Now, a healthy liver, it removes that, no problem.
Okay.
But if those bilirubin levels are high, it could mean the liver's struggling.
To clear it out?
Yeah, maybe there's a problem with bile flow.
Interesting.
It's a clue, right?
Yeah, this is all starting to paint a really complex picture of what the liver actually does.
It's complicated.
But like with any complex system, things can go wrong. And with the liver, I get the sense there are a lot of ways that can happen.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, you're right about that. A lot of ways, yeah. We could broadly classify them, though,
Okay, good.
into infectious and non-infectious diseases.
So infectious, that's got to be are viruses and bacteria, right? Causing trouble.
You got it. Viral hepatitis, for example.
Right, of course.
Hepatitis A, B, C.
Classics.
Those viruses, they love to target liver cells.
And that messes things up.
Inflammation, damage, the whole 9 yards. And remember that dual blood supply we talked about?
Yeah, the 2 highways.
Exactly. Makes the liver pretty vulnerable to anything that's, hitching a ride from the gut.
Which is how Hep A often spreads.
Exactly. Food, water.
Okay, so that's the infectious side. What about the non-infectious stuff? What falls under that umbrella?
That's a big category. We've got things like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease,
I've heard of that, yeah.
and AFLD, and its more serious cousin, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis.
That's a mouthful.
Those are becoming more and more common these days.
I bet. Are those the ones linked to obesity and diabetes?
Exactly. Obesity, diabetes, high cholesterol. They all play a role.
So those lifestyle factors we always hear about, they really do matter.
Big time. Basically what happens is fat starts building up in the liver.
And that's bad.
Well, our bodies are supposed to store some fat in the liver. It's normal.
Okay.
But too much, that's when you get inflammation, damage.
Ah, so it's all about balance.
Right. And over time, this can progress to fibrosis.
Fibrosis. That's scarring, right.
You got it. The liver starts getting all stiff and scarred.
And that's how you end up with cirrhosis.
Bingo. Cirrhosis is like the final stage of scarring. The liver's so damaged, it can't function anymore.
So it's basically lost its ability to bounce back at that point.
Pretty much. And it's not always from those fatty liver diseases.
Right. It can be from other things, too.
Exactly. Chronic hepatitis, long-term alcohol abuse.
It all adds up.
It does. And then there are the rarer things. Genetic disorders, for example, like hemochromatosis.
Hemochromatosis. That rings a bell, but I can't quite place it.
You've heard of iron deficiency, right?
Yeah, of course.
Hemochromatosis is kind of the flip side.
Too much iron.
Exactly. The body absorbs way too much, And guess where it ends up?
Let me guess. The liver.
You got it. The liver's like the body's storage unit, remember?
Right. So too much iron, not good.
Not good at all. It's toxic, damages the liver cells. There's also Wilson's disease, where copper builds up instead.
Wow, so many ways things can go wrong.
And we haven't even touched on autoimmune diseases.
Oh, right, where your own body attacks the liver.
Exactly. Your immune system gets confused, thinks the liver's the enemy.
It's amazing how much we take the liver for granted. I mean, until you learn about all the things that can go wrong with it.
Right. It's silently working so hard back there.
Exactly. Which is why I'm curious, how do you know if your liver's in trouble? Like, what are the warning signs?
Yeah, that's the thing with the liver, right? You don't necessarily know it's in trouble until it's really in trouble.
It's true. Early liver disease can be sneaky, silent.
So what should we be looking for? What are the red flags?
Well, people always talk about fatigue.
Right, but isn't everyone tired these days?
Exactly. So that one's not very helpful on its own. True, true. Okay, so fatigue, not a great indicator. What about something more, I don't know, liver specific?
Jaundice, that's a classic sign.
Jaundice, the yellowing.
Yep, yellowing of the skin and eyes.
And that's caused by?
Bilirubin buildup in the blood. Remember, the liver usually clears that out.
Right. So if it's not working properly.
Bilirubin levels go up, and you turn a lovely shade of yellow.
Not so lovely. Okay, jaundice. Got it. Anything else?
Let's see, abdominal pain is another one, especially up here in the upper right quadrant where the liver hangs out.
Makes sense.
Swelling in the legs and ankles too. Doctors call it edema.
Edema, okay.
That happens when the liver's not regulating fluid properly.
So many things it does.
What else? Oh, and keep an eye out for unexplained weight loss or bruising easily.
Okay, so these are all good to be aware of, but I'm guessing if you experience any of this, it's not time to self-diagnose with WebMD.
Definitely not. A lot of these symptoms, they could have other causes.
So bottom line, see a doctor.
Exactly. Especially because, as we've been discussing, those complications, they can get serious if you ignore the early signs.
Speaking of complications, you mentioned portal hypertension earlier. Can we circle back to that? What actually happens when that pressure builds up?
So, picture it this way. The portal vein, it's bringing blood from the digestive system to the liver, right?
Right. The nutrient highway.
Now, when the liver is scarred, it's like a traffic jam.
Yeah.
All that pressure has to go somewhere, so the blood vessels, they start to bulge.
Oh no, that doesn't sound good.
Not good at all. They can even rupture. Especially dangerous are these things called varices.
Varices? What are those?
Essentially swollen veins in the esophagus. If those ruptured, you're talking major life-threatening bleeding.
Yikes. That's scary.
And then there's hepatic encephalopathy.
Okay, that sounds serious.
It is. Basically, the liver can't filter toxins properly anymore, so they build up in the bloodstream, including ammonia.
Ammonia, isn't that the stuff in cleaning products?
The very same.
Yeah.
And it's really bad for your brain. We're talking confusion, disorientation.
Wow, so much can go wrong. Okay, this all reinforces why catching things early is so important. But how do doctors even figure out what's going on?
It often starts with those blood tests we talked about.
Checking for those enzymes.
Exactly. AST, ALT, bilirubin, the whole gang.
Right, right. But blood tests alone don't give you the full picture, do they?
You're right. Imaging tests are usually the next step.
Like ultrasounds.
Exactly. Totally painless, and they can show the liver's size and shape, any blockages.
And if they need to see things in even more detail.
Then you're talking CT scans, MRIs, that sort of thing.
And sometimes a biopsy.
Right, a liver biopsy. That's when they take a small tissue sample and look at it under a microscope.
When would they do that?
Usually to confirm a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Or to see how severe the damage is, especially scarring.
Gotcha. So let's say there is a diagnosis. What are the treatment options and how do they differ based on what's going on?
Well, every case is different, right?
Of course.
Sometimes lifestyle changes are enough, especially with fatty liver disease. Losing weight, eating healthy, exercising.
Those healthy habits strike again.
It's amazing what a difference they can make. For other conditions, like viral hepatitis, you might need antiviral meds to keep the virus under control.
Okay.
Autoimmune diseases often require immunosuppressants to calm the immune system down.
And then there's the elephant in the room when it comes to liver disease.
Transplants.
Yeah. When is that the only option?
Transplants are usually reserved for the really tough cases. End-stage liver failure, certain types of liver cancer, or when other treatments just haven't worked.
It's major surgery.
It is a last resort, really.
Yeah.
And even if you do get a transplant, you're on immunosuppressant drugs for life to prevent rejection.
Right. It's a big deal, but it's amazing that it's even possible.
It really is. Medical science has come a long way.
Yeah.
But ideally, we want to prevent ever getting to that point.
Exactly. So big picture, what can people do to keep their livers healthy?
Honestly, it goes back to those healthy habits we keep talking about.
Eating right, exercising.
Exactly. Maintain a healthy weight, eat a balanced diet, get moving, and go easy on the alcohol.
Moderation is key.
Absolutely. And of course, get vaccinated against hepatitis A and B.
So important. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much, and I hope our listeners have too.
Me too. It's been a pleasure.
It's amazing how much we take this organ for granted, you know? It's quietly working behind the scenes, doing all this crucial stuff.
Keeping us going.
Exactly. One thing that really blew my mind while we were prepping for this episode was the research being done on stem cells and CRISPR technology for treating liver disease. Imagine if they could actually regenerate damaged liver tissue.
The future is wild.
That's something to think about. All right, everyone, that's a wrap on the liver. Until next time, stay curious.